All right, so we're going to be talking about scientific method. We're going to be talking about that and what's on top of your notes and the scientific process. So you should have your note sheet, and with your note sheet, it's basically a graphic organizer. Everything is organized. So you're going to write what's on the. We're going to write what's in the notes in the box that are given. Okay, so. And then I'll let you know exactly what to write, what you don't need to write. Some of these definitions we know, but these are eighth grade definitions that you're expected to be able to say, and also what they expect you to know at the high school. Okay, so after this, you'll be able to demonstrate the scientific method in action with the labs that we're going to be doing at the end of this week. Okay, so the scientific method, there are 6 steps to this method. You're going to be able to ask or pose a question, collect information on your question, so that research, state your hypothesis, test your hypothesis by conducting an experiment, analyzing your data, looking over the data that you collected, and then you're going to report your results. You're going to draw that conclusion, okay? So the next piece is that we will want to put these pieces all together in a lab. Okay, so first thing we want to do in terms of a lab, you want to make sure this is up to for yourself. You will want to come up with some creative title for your lab or your experiment. Okay, so it has to be short, catchy, related to that particular topic. Then you have your problem or your question. This is a question that's going to be tested. For example, what temperature would soda freeze? I'm just coming up with this top of my head. If soda was to be able to be frozen, or why is every soda that freezes, does every soda freeze the same way or at the same speed? Okay, so if you freeze a soda, does one particular soda freeze faster or at the same rate as other sodas that are freezing? Okay. Next, we have our hypothesis. Yes, an hypothesis is an educated guess. But we're in 8th grade now, so your definition should be in the form of this. It is an informed statement about a potential outcome and reasons. It is done in an if-then statement. So the key word is potential. Okay, our keyword, don't need to use yellow, let's do green. So our keyword is potential. Okay, so that potential, so what could go wrong with this outcome if it's particularly okay if you think as long as it's informed statement and you would have that reason. Okay, so if you would like to put Sprite in the freezer, it will freeze faster than we will put Coca-Cola in the freezer. That's our hypothesis. We put Sprite in the freezer, it will freeze faster than Coca-Cola. Okay. Oh. All right. So our materials. This is a list of supplies that you will need that has to be specific. So if I'm telling you to have a 100 milliliter beaker, then you need to write a 100 milliliter beaker. Don't just write beaker. Okay. You can't just write the word beaker. If you need 3 test tubes, you need to write 3 test tubes. You don't need to write just test tubes, okay? We're getting ready for the high school. I'm preparing you for that, okay? So you have to be very specific. So our procedure, say on your paper you have 1, 2, 3. That's just an example of what a procedure will look like. But you're going to write your notes underneath that space that's given. So basically a procedure, if we're going through a lab and we formed this question and now we have to put it in a step-by-step format, sometimes it's there for you to be able to, if you don't need to do it right away, but someone in the classroom can, and you can give them a step-by-step of this experiment. So if Mr. Tomasic came in, you could never be able to tell him step by step of what you're doing or what is going to be done in this lab experiment. Okay. So it's a list of steps followed to perform this investigation. We already talked about independent and dependent variables. It is what's tested and what is changed. And then a dependent variable is what's being observed, what is measured in that data. We also talked about the controlled variable. That is things that could change but don't. It's kept constant and it allows for a fair test. So you always want to make sure that you're being fair. Just being fair in our tests, in our experiment. So, your photos, diagrams, data charts, or graphics, this illustrates the progress of an investigation. So, you want to have a visual of your experiment. So, something that's showing the progress, like watching a plant grow from day one through day three. Okay. So your results is a graphic representation of the data from the investigation. So it's basically your results roping in that we just talked about, roping everything in together. I have an illustration depending on the outcome. And from that, we will explain your results, and you can also interpret it of what happened. So, like if we were following watering plants, plant growth, if we use salt water or just tap water, if we made a boo boo, we made a mistake on our experiment, we'll be able to put that error down on paper. Okay, so if we go back to that problem and discuss your hypothesis, you never change that hypothesis. Okay, you just explain your support of your statement. Okay. All right. So a written explanation of the results, you're just going to write a paragraph that analyzes, that looks at the data that you collected. Okay. One day we watered the plant at a different time period. It was really sunny outside that day. You're just going to write a paragraph summarizing everything that we've done based off your results and what could have changed or what didn't, or what we could have changed and what we did that we said that we could do right that actually happened, that result. Okay. In conclusion, you're going to briefly answer those questions that are asked in your problem. It states the hypothesis to be supported or not supported. So our initial question was: does all sodas freeze at the same time, or do they one freeze faster than the other? We're going to answer that question. We can either say yes, Sprite froze faster than Coca-Cola because. Does it support our hypothesis? We said yes, it was going to. Did it support it? Yes or no? That will be your conclusion. Okay. So, questions. Write a question about something you didn't understand, or write a question that you could expect to see on a test or a quiz. You're going to be able to take a video notes quiz after this. And then once everyone has gotten these notes together, we can go ahead and start putting our demonstration of each scientific method step to use.